Hello, I'm Dr. John Smelser, and welcome to another episode of Ahtna 101. We have been working on berries, plants that have berries, and plants like blueberries and crowberries and cloudberries. So we'll continue that. It's been 3 months now since I rang the bell for my cancer, and as you can see, my facial hair and even the hair on my head is all starting to come back, and my weight's coming back, and my strength's coming back, and it looks like I'm going to make it. So I'm pretty happy about that. And I just wanted to make sure I keep posting Ahtna vocabulary to help perpetuate our language in the future. So we'll start off today with currants. Currant is a kind of berry. There's the northern currant. Sometimes it's called a black currant or skunk. And we call it gigi chen. Gigi chen. Remember, gigi is just berry in general. So gigi and chen. If you're from Mintasta, our northernmost village, they call it sli, sligege, sligege. So the word berry, gege, was just on the other side of the word sli. The red currant, that's a different one. The red currant is, we call it nont nooni, nont nooni. We also call it doni nooni, doni nooni. And red currant, one of the things we do with it is we boil it, boil the bark, the stem, into a tea that you could drink for helping with flus or colds. Quite a few of these today, these berries will be used for a tea that helps with flus and colds. Devil's Club. I remember all my life I'd see big things of devil clubs, a field of Devil's Club, and you don't want to move through it. It's thorny, thistly, and that's probably why it's called the Devil's Club. It's not a fun plant to move through, especially without sleeves and leather gloves. And we call that hosko, hosko. And even though it has these little berries that grow on it, we don't eat those. We don't eat the berries at all. But we do take the stem and the inner bark of the stem, and we turn it into a poultice, which you could put on like an infection. If you have a cut, an infection, you put it on it and bandage it up. And it's said to draw out the infection so you heal better. And sometimes what you do is you first burn the stem and the plant and the leaves, and then you take the ash and turn that into a poultice for the same reason. Huckleberry. I like that one, huckleberry. They're usually dark blue, almost like a blueberry. And they're very common, especially in coastal Alaska. They're really the most common of all the blueberries is the huckleberry, but not as common in Ahtna country, but we do have them. We call it tlasani, tlasani. And if you're from our western dialect, which my grandma Maury Second Chief spoke, she taught me that it's gigiweli, gigiweli. So you hear the gigi there again, the word for berry. Very common, used as food, just pick them and eat them and store them and freeze them in the winter and all that. Juniper berry. Juniper berry is interesting. It's part of the conifer family. It's actually related to the cypress family, like cypress trees. It's very related to it. And mostly we just take the leaves off the juniper berry and turn it into a tea. And the tea, is supposed to be good for you. Sometimes I just take the little boughs and throw them right like on the wood stove, and with a little bit of water as an aromatic, like incense, to just make the cabin smell good. And it's thought that smell is healthy. It helps you somehow. Lagoon berry. Lagoon berry is, we call it dots and cordley. Dots and cordley. If you're from our lower villages, we call it dlotsen, dlotsen cade, dlotsen cade. And if you were from Mintasta, you'd call it nkoff, nkoff. There's like the sound of N at begin, but it's one syllable, nkoff, nkoff. Raspberries, yeah, there's just good old-fashioned wild raspberries. They especially love to grow along like gravel roads, gravelly, sandy creek beds and stuff. Boy, in my life, we've come across some great raspberry patches where we stopped and, harvested as many as we could. Just you eat them. That's all there is to it. Very healthy, very yummy. Lots of seeds though. And the word in Ahtna for raspberry is datsenkoge. Datsenkoge. And if you're Mentasta, a little bit different, denkoge. Denkoge. Almost very similar. The rose, there's actually a kind of a plant that's kind of a wild rose. And that's just hostan. Hostan. Rose hips. Now, rose hip, even now, if you go to a supermarket to the supplement section, you'll find vitamin C tablets made from rose hips because rose hips are really high in vitamin C. All by themselves, they have a lot of seeds. They do. They have a lot. You don't just grab a rose hip and start chewing it. You could. But a lot of people make jellies and jams out of them. And rose hip, sometimes it's very prickly. It's called prickly rose sometimes. Is Changathtani. Changathtani. And tani has to do with just the land, the earth, the world, the land. If you are from our Western dialect, like my grandma, Maury Second Chief, she said Chingethhtani. Chingethhtani. So it's a Changeth Chin. Just slightly different. I mean, distance between people who speak language gives rise to slight changes in language. It just does. It's like y'all versus you, or youans if you're from parts of Pennsylvania. We'll finish off there. So all right, stay tuned for the next episode of Ahtna 101.